Hi, I'm Jim Dieter. I run the National Industrial Platform for Cushman Wakefield. There are fast-moving, dynamic trends globally that's occurring within the logistics and supply chain component of our industry. Our global research group, led up by Maria Sokola, captures all of that real-time information and in turn share it with you, our client, enabling you to make proactive, upfront, and strategic decisions.
Hi, I'm John Morris, and I'm in the Supply Chain Strategy Group at Cushman Wakefield. From our perspective at C&W, it's never been more challenging to be a supply chain manager and a manager of a company's facility strategy than it is right now. We are experiencing a new and pressing paradigm that spans the entire supply chain. Consumer demand patterns are changing rapidly. Order cycle times, retail formats, service level requirements. The dynamics of supply, material and labor supply are changing dramatically. And of course, connecting them is logistics. And the significant cost and capacity challenges in logistics today are creating real volatility in critical supply chain variables. Right now, supply chain is just not easy. Right now, with so many basic fundamentals of supply and demand unclear, supply chain executives are balancing competing priorities. There are still, however, big opportunities to squeeze inefficiencies out of every supply chain, and of course, significant potential pitfalls that could erode profits at the same time. We think the current paradigm in supply chain management and all of its challenges could be roughly aggregated into three major categories: logistics efficiency, location strategy, and technology management. Logistics efficiency is quite tactical. It centers on the ongoing management of the movement of goods. The rising cost of transportation is a complicated issue, difficult to manage. Today in the U.S., 4 of every 5 goods moved move over the road. This will be changing. Rail will become bigger, as will all water goods movements, of course, made easier by the expansion of the Panama Canal, opening, we hope, in 2015. Another exciting development is the continued adaptation of natural gas to trucking, to over-the-road refueling. Given the abundance of natural gas in this country and the huge potential benefits of figuring out how to fuel trucks with natural gas, many larger 3PL have already indicated their plans to add natural gas refueling to their facilities.
Most shipping in Europe is handled by the major ports of Rotterdam, Hamburg and Antwerp. Opportunities to do the same elsewhere are severely limited. The most common route of moving freight across Europe is via road, and despite attempts to change this, we see it being the same for some time to come. Due to the scale and size of Europe, and quite frankly its shape, rail is deemed to be a nice to have, but it's not business critical. Therefore, in Europe, instead of planes, trains and automobiles, it's trucks, trains and ships.
Beyond the broader network strategy, we also find ourselves pulled into more and more tactical level inventory sizing and deployment studies, including transportation methodology. For example, private fleet utilization, store delivery frequency, and hub and spoke network operation. One specific trend appears to be a gradual move away from direct store delivery, or DSD as it's called, as retailers are seeking additional volume in an attempt to improve the utilization of their own internal distribution centers. If even a modest number of retailers go this route, as has happened in Canada, for example, it will become increasingly more difficult for manufacturers to justify the high fixed overhead cost of the private fleets and depots necessary to support this business model.
The second area of current management focus and dynamic change is location strategy. With changes again in transportation and fuel cost, and a decline in the available labor savings from manufacturing offshore, manufacturing companies are thinking differently about location. A location project that 5 years ago would have considered only China may now today be looking at Mexico. A project looking at Mexico today may now, for various reasons, also be looking at the Southeast U.S. Manufacturing is returning to the U.S. U.S. manufacturing wages were 22 times that of China as recently as 2005. Today, that wage gap is under 10x, and will likely be under 5 by 2015. The fact is, location determines competitive advantage. Location variables such as labor, utilities, transportation infrastructure, incentives, and their impact on the success of a supply chain are the real forces that connect real estate strategy with supply chain strategy.
The soaring land price in China's hot city is another unique trend. If you want to buy a piece of industrial land in Beijing or Shanghai, which are the hottest cities in China, the price is now 5 to 10 times higher than it is 4 or 5 years ago. Some costs even more than it does in Switzerland, which is unbelievable to most of our clients.
As Peter has suggested, rising land and labour costs in Asia has led to a recent resurgence of nearshoring activities across Europe. However, the UK is a congested market, with business being concentrated generally around the Midlands and the South East. This often leads to compromise on location strategies, with decisions being skewed because of land availability. Therefore, Central and Eastern Europe will continue to be the location of choice for operations seeking to maximise cost efficiencies around the region.
Relative to location, we continue to see a tremendous amount of activity on the distribution network optimization front as companies seek to improve their supply chain efficiency. Probably the biggest change we've seen in the past year is that studies seem to be less driven by cost savings, as they were during the economic downturn, and more skewed toward customer service, as many of these projects are now being chartered to support business growth rather than simply reduce operating costs. This should be an indication of growing corporate confidence in the broader economy and will hopefully result in the rollout of more distribution centers, in particular regional facilities, to be more responsive to customer service demands.
The third area of management concern is keeping up with the evolution of supply chain technology. The current pace of advancement in technology is making heads spin. Advances in material handling technology, in high-performance facility engineering, will help us overcome labor cost inflation and labor capacity shortages. Advances in customer data mining technologies will be used to continue to define better product and inventory strategy. Advances in asset tracking and the continued application of GIS technology will provide better visibility into and management control over the productivity of supply chain assets. This means tracking equipment, inventory, and tracking people. Of course, with the availability of any new technology comes an adoption challenge. For any company, the question is, does a new technology make sense? When? And what's the payback? Capital will be tight, and technology adoption strategy will be an area for significant and maybe catastrophic risk going forward.
Technology will become increasingly important in our industry as logistics companies need to offer seamless transactional capabilities. E-commerce is a massive driver across Europe, with the pressures mounting on both supply chain and real estate strategies. Companies like Amazon are really leading the charge. However, regardless of whatever happens, whether it's a dark store or an internet fulfillment facility, these businesses will require staffing, and so locations with good labour characteristics will continue to be the most attractive.
When I think about the impact of technology on supply chain, one word comes to mind: e-com. No other single phenomenon is driving more of our strategic network studies, and it obviously has a huge impact on transportation in terms of driving more and more parcel and LTL volume. However, while the direct-to-consumer model is in many ways the most efficient means of distribution, it also takes the piece-picking complexity and final mile delivery traditionally provided by the retail store and the consumer themselves and shifts it to the distribution center. Much of our work revolves around inside the walls DC design. And we believe e-com, as well as ongoing labor challenges, will continue to drive the development of automated warehousing solutions, including the expanded use of AGVs and automated case and piece picking.
A UN research report shows the number of people 65 years and older will increase to 14% by 2025. and 21% in 2050, from less than 10% now. Because of this, we see more and more clients from life science industry increase their investment in Asia. And also, we see growing demand of high quality manufacturing space and R&D space in this region.
So this wraps up our brief overview in regards to global trade and logistics. Look forward to receiving from us on a real-time basis additional reports, not only on global trade, but also on the general real estate industrial front.